It's afternoon now. Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks, People Matter, for giving this platform. Before I start, how's the Josh in the room? It's just one person, really Joshila. How's the Josh, guys? All right, thank you. So, I have a story to tell rather than a pitch, and hopefully it'll relate and connect with your heart. But before I get into the main topic, which is how is the great resignation become so big that it has come to the union budget today, right? And how is financial wellness journey going to fight that? But bit about me, who am I? Why should you even stay here and listen to me? My name is Chitresh Sharma, and I'm a two-time founder. Both companies have been set up in the UK. My last company was UK's largest customer loyalty firm. We used to cater to 3,000 brands, anywhere from Procter & Gamble, Nestle, Coca-Cola. I had the privilege to move the Indian flag by being first ever Indian entrepreneur to be awarded by the Queen out of 12 entrepreneurs. Thank you. I've also sat in UK advisory board for David Cameron, Nicola Sturgeon. It didn't really go well. I had nothing to do with Brexit, but it worked out for a few months. I moved to India in 2020 after selling my company, and I wanted to build something in India for the global world. But just like any natural entrepreneur, you have to find a problem. You have to find a single problem that is either life redefining or a country redefining startup idea, right? And this is how Refine was born. And I'll talk to you about the problem, but just to add some value on Refine, Refine is 17-month-old startup. It's India's first startup to have close to 306 million in funding deadline and 106 million in equity in just 7 months of starting up. It's already made in India and Asia's largest financial wellness platform. We have some of the biggest investors, and it has brought India to the map. You'll hear a lot India because that's really the core mission for us, is to build here for India, but also for the global world. Now, what is this great Indian resignation? These are some numbers. If you actually think about it, it's scary. It's really scary to see that you've got 86% people, as we speak, as we are in the room, thinking to resign, look for opportunity, not happy with where they are, right? It's crazy. 19% attrition, average attrition rate in 2020, which is 57% more than the last year, right? And that for me is a big game changer because I thought we have gone past the worst time, which was COVID. But this is happening. This is a real problem, right? Again, there are a big percentage, just to put some numbers there are a lot of reports done in, but actually I spoke to 1,000+ people when I came to India from different geographies, different background, and spoke to hundreds of corporates. And it all funneled down to the difference between the financial wellness. We are a country where personal finance management has never been part of core curriculum. We've been into different universities, different schools, but not once, no one has taught us how to manage our own personal finance. We are taught to manage billions and trillions of dollars for corporate, but never our own personal finance. And this has led to, one of the big reasons where we don't really understand how to manage that has led to there's a direct relationship between financial wellness and, being a healthy, with a fine mental balance at work. And as you can see, I started with that. It's become so big. It was surprising to me that it landed in the union budget this time. It's insane, right? A problem becomes so big, it's already in your budget. And I think everyone can connect with this, that in some way or form, our mental peace is connected to our financial peace, right? Money drives everything, right? It's such a core part of our life that we start our day with money, we end our day with money. Like the entire simplification of life, the denominator is money. So being able to manage that part of your life is critical. But the system has not read or made it very easy for us. While we are talking about the great Indian story, about startups, fintech, many others, and it's happening. It's happening. We are seeing that. This is the generation that's going to see 10x difference in the financial service, but it's not going at a speed that we want, right? We have a system where 90% plus people are credit underserved. That means They have no credit score. We are called a country of new to credit. And it's okay, right? We are a country of growth. We are a country of consumption. But the current financial system, the so-called banks, the so-called financial institute are focused on people with that credit score, which are really overserved, really overserved. Someone making 4.5 lakh per month, you'll probably have 10 different banks calling you at 10 different times. The same is not for people making under 2 lakhs, right? So the system is not yet built to support the 90% that is running the show for the country. The 90% why what India is today, right? So it's very important. And we did a big E&Y research, because let's be honest, who's going to trust a guy who just picked up to a few thousand people and put some graphs on the PDF? So maybe we needed an E&Y name to do the research. It could relate to the people I speak. We were known 20 years back a country of saving, right? People used to save a big, huge percent of their saving, and they had bad weather. The first thing was their saving. Today, we are a country of consumption. People are spending more, and that's great, right? We are spending, we are growing, we have a lot of ambition, a plan, a new Gen Z is coming in. It's very different, right? Which is great. But it needs to be integrated with financial wellness. It needs to be integrated what personal finance really mean. So things like 80%, 81% people don't have anything left at the last week of the month, what they can call salary or saving, right? It's crazy to know that. When I spoke to people on the phone, I had people from governments, PSUs, private sector, telling me break stories about they needed money for their daughter's wedding, they needed money for medical emergency, how they needed money at 3 a.m., 4 a.m. in the nights of COVID, and they were given money where they didn't really understand the terms. There were people who had taken 10,000 and had to return 65,000. How does that maths work? It's impossible. And when these unwanted circumstances come, you don't really have the time to read the so-called fine print. How many of you actually read your fine print about your insurance? Ooh, scary, right? And the same thing is happening with personal. Okay, there's one. You should be given an award. That fine print is 80-page document, right? The same thing's happening, right? When it comes to your credit cards, when it comes to your personal, loans or any form of saving product, investment product, it comes with a lot of complexity. So it needs to change. It needs to be simplified. It needs to be where you can trust. And the trust only builds when you use the product first time and the experience is what was pitched to you. These are numbers you probably read, but it's mind-boggling, right, to see these numbers. And what does that mean for corporate? What does that mean for employees? It's a vicious circle. We all kind of empower each other. The corporates empower the employees empower the corporate, and it keeps going on. It's a vicious circle. It doesn't need to be employer or employee. It could be anywhere you make money, right? And the financial stress becomes the root of everything. If we know we have to pay the tuition fee for our kid, if we know there's an emergency coming, there is no way on earth we're going to be 100% at work. There is just no way we can be 100% at work, right? I have been there. When I started, I had to pay rent, and I was left with 300 pounds. And I swiped my American Express. Don't ask me why I got American Express at that age. It was very accessible apparently in UK. And for the same 300, it lasted for me more than 24 months. Because of a debt trap where I know there's 60 days, 45 days free period, but I was just paying minimum EMI. It can happen to the best of us, right? It can happen to people with that access to education or personal finance. And that stress is very hard to fight because you can't speak to your colleagues, you can't speak to your family, you can't speak to your employer, you can't speak this to anyone. It's such a personal thing, right? And that's why the era has come where we have to personalize personal finance, because the personal finance arithmetics, maths that applies to me probably not applying to most of you. And the same thing that applies to you is probably not going to apply to me, and vice versa. It can keep going on. That personalization is very, very critical. And it is a taboo that no one will talk about to anyone. No one wants to open up on that because the problem is people think they'll be exposed to the weakness. Anyways, I think the crowd understand why no one wants to talk about their personal finance to any of the parties in our life, right? And that is why, as an organization, a lot of people ask me the question, why did you start with an employer? Why can't you just go D2C, right? And that is the problem most of the fintechs, the new age fintech is facing. They are trying to get to the user at a very high cost without able to deliver the experience and then adding the fine print to it. So the fight is forgotten. Their fight was with that fine print. Their fight was for trust. Their fight was for simplicity. But because the cost of acquisition of the so-called D2C user through IPL ads to TV ads, and I can keep going on, has become so high that it's nearly impossible to deliver the promise they have started. And this is exactly what we started Refine, and that's why we had to raise close to overall 406 million in funding being 7 months, because we need to be ammunited to able to scale to the scale we are seeing in terms of users. And that is why recognizing that is very important. Any problem can't be solved if we don't recognize that, right? Being able to, reform policies, adapt to new policies, how can we make sure that initiatives are created that are tailored to individual employees, not as a group policy, right? The same thing happens when it comes to, this is the exact baseline why Refined was born. Refined was born with a single philosophy: simplify personal finance and get people in a personal financial wellness journey. We are not trying to sell a product. We are not trying to sell a technology. We are here to get people in financial wellness journey, right? And a lot of people will probably end of the month or end of the presentation ask, how do you make money? It's a tough question, but we are trying to create Bharat Ka score. Right now, the only score we know is CIBIL score, and there are a few others, but we are trying to create that score that will be for the 90% which is underserved. And this is, the way we do it is to make sure it's not high cost and we are able to deliver what we promise. We partner with employers and we get their employees into the journey already. We already support 12 languages, so we have to walk our talk when we say Bharat Ka score. We are in iPhone, Android, WhatsApp version, in various versions, wherever different TG profile of employees are there. So we need to tailor it to their experience, let them choose it. And instantly we start the journey by giving them one-to-one financial coach, a free one-to-one financial coach. It's not a classroom setup. These financial coach are SEBI approved. These are CA background. These are people who will guide people to understand what exactly personal finance means. How do I save? How do I be prepared for bad climate? How do I make sure there are so many complicated products? How do I distill that in simple layman's language that people can understand in 12 different languages? It's very important. And I think coaching is the start. And we've seen actually, we launched this actually 6 months back, and we have seen close to 400% growth month on month. The amount of people that are booking, I've seen people booking it in places like Durg, Raipur, Bhilai. Right? There is a need. People want to do it. It's just educating them is important. The second thing is, how do we give them access to liquidity? How do we help them give access to for the bad, unplanned, expenses? That's where we give them access to a percentage of their earned salary in 60 seconds. It works 24/7, 365 days a year. No question asked. The money is transferred from us to the employee. So it doesn't, the beauty about Refine is it's zero commercial for the enterprise or employer. It's zero change required on technology, and it's always going to be zero obligation on any form of risk. So we have to remove all the speed breakers to get the value to the employees, the end result, right? So it's a very simple partnership actually. Excuse me. So when we give the access to liquidity, it can happen any time of the month, any time of the year, no question asked. It hits the user account in 30 seconds. 60 seconds is our promise. We try to deliver in 30 seconds. And believe it or not, every month we see close to 1,200 crores going through our platform. And during the busiest time for us was the COVID time between 2 to 5 a.m. I don't want to even get into the reason why people, got access to that. So the idea is to give them accessibility, give them the option. There's no force, there's no marketing, just knowing that there is something like this. If a bad thing happen, an unplanned thing happen, I can access that. And the beauty is it's zero interest, zero processing fee. There is no hidden so-called fine print. It's a simple transaction fee. It comes down to as low as 3 rupees. Like it's when you use it on ATM, you use it on, buying something on e-commerce. It's a simple one single fee. There's nothing complicated around it. Again, in just 16 months or 17 months we have launched, we have empowered close to 200 plus corporates, and we are already employing, over here it's probably 1.5 million, but we are already empowering 2 million employees in 20 different sectors, all the way from PSUs to private sectors, to human resource companies, to IT BPOs, to new tech startup. We are everywhere in food, retail, hospitality. Pretty much we are covering 20 different categories now. So the scale has allowed us to be able to touch more lives, and we are pretty confident to be hitting 5 million end of the year, and we are pretty excited to be hopefully getting to our first international market next year. In that 16 months, we have already seen 36% improvement in retention. We have already seen 24% increase in regularity. We have seen companies, excuse me, can I have a bottle of water? Excuse me. We have seen 2.6 times better hiring across our organization. So things are changing. It's a proven product. There are a lot of brands who are here who are already using it. And hopefully if you have time, you can come and speak to the team at the counter. There are a lot of product suite, but I'm not going to bore you to give you, because I told you it's a journey. These products are very well integrated. We are not a lending business, because most of the products you see, it doesn't encourage lending, it actually discourages lending. The financial coach will never ask you to take more money. The saving product, where you can set up 2%, 1%, 3% up to the employer and employee, where the saving can automatically happen and the same thing can be invested automatically. The salary card, when you use for spending, the idea is the analytics will help you budget better. Right now, when we try to book a flight, you look for a flight, you look for a discount. The power of that card is the best offer should automatically apply. That is called personalization. So most of the product, as you see, is all about trying to move the unbankable segment to the bankable segment. And I want you to focus on refined score. That is what we are about. That is why our products are not overcharging in nature. The idea is to give a credit score which is built based on how people work at their work. How people perform at their work is absolutely directly related to how they're going to manage their personal finance. And that is why we're building this, which allows people to get into a new scoring mechanics, which covers for the larger market, the 90% so-called India. Thank you, guys. I have a quick video to show you guys, and that would be about me. Can we help with the playing the video? Thank you, everyone. Thank you.